use cases of Web3 through DePIN. Hello everyone, Daniel from DePIN Hub here. Today we have a new episode with Ali, CEO and co-founder of NATIX. I interviewed him, I think was the beginning of the year, and now he's here back on the podcast with like a really, really cool new product. Alongside Ali, we have Ulrich, the main brain behind the new product, VX360. And I'm so excited to get you guys here on the podcast and talk about this product that actually gives me the goosebumps when I see everything that you're building, the progress, the future of this product. It's also really, really exciting. Well, thanks so much for joining the podcast today, you two. It's an honor to have, the big brain behind an amazing product and a great history and stories that I actually want to hear from you. And Ali, of course, always a pleasure to talk to you, man.
Same here. Thanks, Daniel, for having us. I think your community probably is quite familiar with NATIX, or at least the first product of NATIX, which is a smartphone application. So I'm going to skip the part to talk about what NATIX does and how we basically made the company. But something that happened very recently is we started working on collecting 360 imagery or video data, for which the use cases go far beyond mapping or map making. We're actually also using it for autonomous driving. And yeah, I have today someone with me who has been kind of our mentor for quite some time and now hands-on actually helping us, scale NATIX's service offering within automotive, within autonomous driving. Funny thing, I'm just going to say this story and then I'm going to pass it to Ulrich. I met Ulrich back in 2013 or 14 when I was doing my PhD in Germany. And we were part of a 6 million euro huge projects working on autonomous driving. And Ulrich was obviously also part of that project from his company. And the first time I met him, it was at our uni campus. We just go and we sit in this, I think it was a Volkswagen car equipped with a bunch of lidars and no driver, and a developer sitting in the front seat with a laptop open. And then you could see essentially how the lidar is doing the visual perception and navigating through the uni campus. And I was mind blown by this. I was like, okay, I want to do whatever has to do with this technology. Then this is long time ago. People were not like, autonomous driving was a dream back in the times. And when I saw this, it was insane. Fast forward, so Ulrich scaled the BO even further after that. And we're lucky to have him today to work on this new product, especially the use case that VX360 has for autonomous driving. But without yet jumping into VX360 and what it does, maybe Ulrich, you can also give a few words about yourself, your background, and your experience in scaling products, I would say, in company.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ali. Actually, I did my PhD I did some research work on autonomous vehicles, especially collision avoidance of autonomous vehicles and making autonomous vehicles drive with the individual driving behavior, driving style, for example, of the owner of that vehicle. And I developed this type of algorithms in the end of the 90s, so as part of my PhD thesis. And so I was in touch very early with one of the first projects of autonomous driving. And I recognized, okay, at that time, LiDAR was not in the market. Radar and video, you could have first products, but not very good. It was very high performance at that point in time. And so because of all this research work, it was clear to me, okay, what we need in the future is a third technology, so LiDAR, in order to make autonomous driving happen. At that time, I believed, okay, in 5 or 10 years, it's there. We are not there today, but nevertheless, we started to develop, or I decided to start my own company, and so I started IBEO, and IBEO became a supplier in this automotive world. So first of all, second tier, and then later on as well, we prepared for first tier, and so the company grew up to more than 400 people. And for example, if you see Audi vehicles today, you can see in the grille 2 black boxes. And in one of these boxes, there is the first product, which is based on IBEO technology, a laser scanner. And the first time it was put on a mass production vehicle by Audi in 2017. And yeah, it's still there. So many cars have been equipped so far. And in IBO, we developed not just the hardware, but also the software. And we also worked a lot on validation and testing of these type of sensor systems, as well as any other sensor systems. And this validation is very expensive because it takes a lot of time to collect the data, to generate ground truth information by manual labeling of the data, and then you have the results in order to understand what you have to improve in your own sensing system. And that is exactly the point where NATIX comes in.
Yeah, let's talk about VX360, Daniel. This is the new product. I'm excited. By the way, before we jump into VX360, obviously Ulrich is super experienced with optical sensors, all kinds of it, pretty much. Although their main product was with LiDAR. And funnily, he had a department focusing on mapping, another one focusing on referencing and sensors. Let's say sensor referencing. He had a whole team working on these kind of simulation, let's say testing and so on. So he is really experienced with a lot of these verticals, and that's why even with VX360, we're going beyond just mapping. We want to, with the same data and with the same device, we want to tap into multiple markets. Exciting times.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Thanks so much for the background story. Yeah, LiDAR, it's a beast, right? Like I remember going to check. I think it was the first time I went to the CES conference in Vegas, was 2017, and I could see like this motherboard from NVIDIA that was specialized for processing LiDAR data, and the amount of bandwidth that you need, the amount of resources that you need, right? So it's interesting like to see now there are other ways besides LiDAR that you guys can actually tackle a lot of these challenges, right? Of like mapping information, mapping the world. And I think, how did you went from the idea of the first product that NATIX had with the phone into the VX360 now? And actually, let's introduce the VX360 as well for everyone that's listening.
Yeah. So VX360 is a box that you connect to your Tesla car. You can just open the glove box. There's a USB port there. You plug in the hardware and you start driving. The box actually records your entire trip from 4 cameras, surrounding cameras of Tesla. So it gives us a 360 view of your entire drive. You have a front camera, back camera, and 2 cameras on the side, which the box can actually, get the video from. And you upload this into your personal, let's say, cloud storage as a user, so you can access all of these footages, also your Sentry footages, in case an accident happens or you put a sudden brake or you honk or something like that. So you get all of these access to your footage on the cloud, which is currently not available for the user of the Tesla. And we use that video data. So the user also contributes that video data into NATIX, and we use that video data for 2 different applications. I think the most straightforward people know us with is map building or extracting map attributes. That's a more technical word for it, right? So we use the street level imagery from the road to extract map features like traffic signs, like traffic lights, like the lane markings, and the list is long, essentially, of the map attributes that we can extract. We use computer vision AI to do this. And the other use case, which is far more interesting, that's why Ulrich was talking about validation, is for autonomous driving, let's say testing purposes, when they want to test their functionality. The story behind it essentially is when you are a car manufacturer or an autonomous driving company and you're building a new functionality, let's say lane change, automatic lane change. Well, one way of testing your new feature before deploying it into millions of devices on the road is to build a new car with the new sensor, with the new software, putting it on the road and testing it. Well, this is very expensive, especially that you need thousands of kilometers of driving to produce what we call near misses. So basically where funny things happen and traffic participants are behaving in an interesting way. I'm sure we have all had those experiences when we're driving a car. The other way, which is, for a few years it has been emerging, is relying on simulation environment for testing and validation. So you basically put your car, all of its sensors, software functionality inside this kind of simulation environment. You test the car's functionality in different scenarios, in different roads, in Japan, in Netherlands, in Germany, in the US. And then, you can basically close the loop and iterate on this, right? So you can, if there's a flaw, if you have to improve, you can go back and try to do this much, much faster than building those cars and shipping it out to the road. And this is exactly what we use the 360 data for, to create realistic and real world, let's say, based scenarios, so that a company like, let's say, Honda can actually come and they can basically download these scenarios of, let's say, lane change in New York, in London, in Berlin, in all these different jurisdictions with all different traffic behaviors, and be able to very, very quickly and efficiently test their autonomous driving new functionality. How we came up with this idea, I would say the mapping part was us, and we were looking for a more enriched type of data collection, to be very honest with you. The simulation or scenario generation, this has been mainly Ulrich, to be honest with you, because he has experience with this. I don't know, Ulrich, maybe you want to say a few words, but from what I know, you saw this industry you saw the industry going this direction quite a few years ago, before even simulation environments were really there. So yeah, maybe you want to add a few words, how you thought a few years ago that this would be one of the big things for autonomous driving, to develop it faster and easier.
I mean, simulation, let's say, was known, but on the other hand, as just Ali described it, there was this testing or validation in public traffic. And from my point of view, it was important to merge these two, or to link these two areas, which means if you want to drive 100,000 kilometers or even more with a new car, you either have to build up several cars, then you can collect the data quickly, but that's expensive, or you only build up a few test vehicles and then it takes more time. And then the second phase, then all this data has to be labeled. You need to have ground truth data. What was the reality? And therefore you put on these vehicles a reference system which collects data. Typically people put LiDAR sensors for that. Several LiDAR sensors, we have done this as well. And then you use this data in order to generate the ground truth afterwards. And generating ground truth by manual labeling is also expensive because it takes a lot of time. Therefore, the idea came up, okay, is it possible to drive, for example, 5,000 kilometers in public traffic and get the data and then transfer the data into a simulation environment. And in the simulation environment, you generate more scenarios out of these 5,000 kilometers, probably 200,000 kilometers, because now it's no money anymore. Not in the same way, because it's all in simulation, but it's all based on real world data. I love this approach very much. And when I saw what Ali has built with the NATIX team, being able to collect data, let's say worldwide, in order to simplify it, I thought that's pretty cool, because you have to decide where to send your 5 test vehicles, for example. This is unique from my point of view. That means, okay, let's collect the data, let's take the video streams, let's process the data, and let's come up with the scenarios. And then you don't need to send your vehicle anymore, because we provide this scenario in the simulation environment of the car maker, of the OEM, of the car manufacturer. And that means they can place their own car in that virtual environment in simulation with exactly their sensing system, and they can check immediately what can they see with the sensing system. Is it good enough? Is the software for object recognition and tracking good enough? Is the vehicle control algorithms, are they good enough? So exactly what is of interest for the car manufacturer coming up with a new application in public traffic, and autonomous driving is the top application. This is why simulation is used. But as long as you generate these scenarios manually, you can be close to the real world, but you are not sure. And therefore, and this is where I started, therefore people had also in the past these two domains. One is, okay, let's do simulation. It's all virtual, and all scenarios are generated in the past. All scenarios were generated manually. And on the other hand, okay, we have the real world. Let's do some testing and validation public traffic. So if we merge these two worlds, we can take the best out of these two worlds. And that's, let's say, the new opportunity.
And now that you go from someone driving 5,000 kilometers to someone driving 500,000 kilometers, 1 million kilometers, the whole world, what are the advantages or the groundbreaking, updates that you guys can have on that? Because I think that was not manageable before, right? Like without the power of decentralized infrastructure, of having people to do that, no company in the world would be able to drive, a big percentage of the world to test those devices before building their car, right? What are the things that this unlocks, do you believe?
Yeah, on one hand, it's exactly as you said. There are much more scenarios, much more data available. So you can test your whole system in many more situations. On the other hand, you can do it at lower cost and much faster. So what do you want to have more?
Yeah, better, faster, cheaper.
And safer. Yeah. So I think we had a podcast actually from Logan from Frictionless, and he said something very nice. I still remember it. He said Elon has been saying, close the loop, the feedback loop, and make the wheel go as fast as possible, right? So what we're doing is exactly to close this feedback loop. And, the more data, the more scenarios you have, the faster basically this wheel is going to go in terms of developing a new functionality, testing it in a simulation environment, refining it, testing it, refining it. It basically enables us to bring autonomous driving to reality, to the world much, much faster, right? And this is, let NATIX does it or anybody else, right? We're talking about the idea, we're talking about the business model. By the way, something very interesting as well, Daniel, a lot of companies right now, like NVIDIA or even autonomous driving companies, they have been working also on synthetic scenario generation, which means a generative AI model or a large language model is going to generate these scenarios. But guess what? Your AI model is as good as the data that you use to train this AI, essentially, to generate those scenarios. So the bigger database you have, that's why the founder of Protobot, he said, what NATIX is, when he understood, I was explaining to him what this is. And he was like, NATIX is becoming the grass for autonomous driving data. So, we are going to have the most amount of data. I mean, the only other guys that are going to compete with us is car manufacturers. Many of them don't collect data, or they don't have the capacity to collect data. It's also, it's very bandwidth heavy. So, again, when you token incentivize your user, you can ask them to go that extra mile. You can ask them to provide their bandwidths to really, upload the data, to contribute the data. If you just buy a car, you don't want to go through that hassle of doing all of those things. It's a benefit. I'm not going to lie to you. It's something that all of the projects in our space are kind of getting added value from, but it's extremely powerful at the end of the day.
Does Tesla collect this data already? But I guess they probably wouldn't share. I don't know if they actually record and send to them, because I think Teslas, they have GPRS, like they have 3G in their cars, right?
I'm not sure if Tesla collects video data from every single car. I don't know if Ulrich, you know this, but what Tesla uses this, at least from a lot of the cars that they have, they collect also more information, like the steering wheel data and so on. And they use this to train their own AI model as well to get better. So it's a little bit different from what we are doing, which is just like, kind of simulation and testing and so on. So it's a little bit more complex. We're not trying to necessarily tap into that and kind of step on their feet in that sense. But I don't know. I don't think they're collecting data, again, because it's bandwidth heavy. At least I don't think they're collecting continuously video data. from all of the vehicles, but probably from selected vehicles.
How many gigabytes per hour? I don't know if, or per minute. I don't know on a Tesla drive.
Oh, it's not a light file, Daniel. So we're still optimizing, to be honest with you, but let's say it's between 50 to 100 megabytes per minute, because it's 4 cameras recording that video, right? It's not too bad. With our optimization, it's kind of going to be around that if everything works out well. But imagine it's like hours and hours of this video essentially. So the idea is that when you go to your garage at night and you're connected to Wi-Fi in US, this is quite typical. This device gets automatically connected to your Wi-Fi and it uploads quite passively. Again, you don't have to do anything. If you live in Europe or let's say Asia and you don't have a garage with Wi-Fi, it has a very large storage unit at the moment, 256 gigabytes, the largest that we know in the market. We're even wanting to put 512. So it's like now it's over 22 hours of driving that can be stored on this. You just take it home with you after a week of driving. You get a notification on your phone. You get it home. You just have to plug it into an electricity port, and that's it. It connects to your Wi-Fi automatically. Overnight, it uploads, and then you get a notification next time, next morning to take it back with you.
So you don't necessarily need to download that video to your phone, then from your phone to the internet.
Not at all. It's directly passive. And yeah, because the phone, think of it as kind of an accessory also to the phone. We do some interesting interaction also between the users and this box. So, for example, don't forget this box when you're going, back to your car, essentially.
Yeah, no, I really, really like it. I think it's good. So you guys are going to start with the Tesla, because Tesla, I guess, has very, very straightforward APIs, or is it it's not an OBD connector, right?
Exactly. It's the USB port that is in the glove box of the Tesla. Exactly. It's the square one. And yeah, that's it. You just plug this box in, you close your glove box. You don't have to do anything else. It doesn't necessarily mess with the view of your car. You don't have anything mounted on. That's it. You just, we tap into, and super interesting, Danny. I mean, me, I've been very bullish on tap into existing hardwares, right? I think Borderless labels it as commodity hardware. This is exactly that too. I mean, yes, we're selling the hardware to our users with some utility, by the way. But at the end of the day, we thought about and we talked to some players about building a 360 camera. And I can tell you, it would have costed us, multiple €1,000s per device. So it's not cheap, that technology, essentially. And it's already there on many of these cars, starting with Tesla. So, why not tapping into it?
Yeah, exactly. And that goes for the next question, right? Actually, this year I bought a car. It has a bunch of cameras, but it's not a Tesla. When can I expect to see that? It's a 2024 BMW, so it has all this technical tech stuff on it. When can I expect? Because I'm really excited to try it.
Soon, hopefully. So we have identified multiple other car brands that we can basically tap into the 360 camera as well, and we're even testing some of them right now. We're starting with Tesla because it was kind of the also a bet from our side, because Tesla is growing at a super fast pace, and we wanted to, the same way that you use a chain on blockchain, use your car wisely in the automotive industry. So we're very bullish on Tesla. But there are more car manufacturers that this I'm definitive on. And I think as we go forward, cars are becoming more like iPhones with an app store. So more and more car players are going to enable developers and external parties to access the data that the car is generating in one form or another, with a certain guideline and framework. And of course, not everything, but kind of in a controlled way, the same way that the iPhone doesn't, for example, let you to access the camera on the background, or without users' consent. So there would be a framework, but this is the direction that I believe automotive is going to.
Yeah, and also I think the data they'll be collecting, thinking only about the automotive testing is just one thing, right? Are there other markets that you think this technology can help or disrupt?
Yeah, I mean, this is, let's say, from our point of view, just the starting point, because once we collect the data, we are quite sure that there will be other market opportunities which we just do not know about today. So, I mean, for example, if you think about cities, you can also use different cameras in order to put it into this process and to generate relevant data, which will bring an advantage for the citizens. For example, if you are blind and you have to find the next bus station, but there's some roadworks and they moved it, so this person would love to get some help. And so we can think about other sources, other cameras, which we put into this network, and then we provide this information, and completely different markets will pop up.
Yeah, I think once you have this product live, there's a lot of ideas and a lot of things that are going to come from there, right? So what is the timeline, and when can I get one, and how?
So we're gonna start shipping the hardware, I would say around April. That's like the realistic timeline that we have. Actually, the hardware is more or less ready. The software component, we're still like kind of, we have a very efficient team in terms of at least building the software. So, we're building it. We're gonna do some, proper testing, and then we're gonna release it with everything afterwards. So that's kind of a realistic timeline. How can you get it? You just go to our website for now. You can find VX360 there. It's actually on a special deal. So we said that the first 1,000 units, they will have 20% discount compared to the normal price, as well as 200,000 NATIX tokens upon, so bonus essentially reward upon driving 2,000 urban kilometers. So this is kind of a hot deal right now. Many of the units are already sold. I mean, we're less than 48 hours that we have launched the product, and we're also going to work with more and more distribution partners. I think, Daniel, we're also speaking to work with you guys as well. So we're talking with a lot of these let's say DePIN distribution partners to get their reach and spread the product even further.
Yeah, how do you see this product growing for the next, let's say, few years?
Oh man, I just checked today. We have over 6 million Tesla cars as of I think this year. Sometime Tesla announced that they built their 6 million car, and this number is not slowing down. So it's a big market, and at the end of the day, you cannot compare the quality of a 360, imagery with a smartphone or a dash cam. It's just, it's the completeness that it gives you. It's different. The use cases that you can do with it, because it's 360. So this simulation, for example, scenario generation, is something you cannot do with a dash cam nor a smartphone, right? Reason being, imagine you're trying to generate a right turn scenario. You're turning right, a bicycle is coming. They don't see the red light. They pass through it. Front camera is not detecting that because your car is here and the bicycle is coming like this. So, you're completely missing that. How do you want to replicate this scenario inside a simulation environment if your camera didn't see it? Again, we're going to me and you manually putting this bicycle, and it's not real world anymore. It's man generated or human generated. Yeah.
No, super exciting. Yeah, I believe that's the next step, right? The next step on the progress of this imagery for decentralized infrastructure projects. Tell people where they can go to learn more about NATIX and the VX360.
So they can go to our website, www.natix.network. I think if you scroll a little bit down, VX360 is right on top. And if you want to learn more about VX360, more about how it helps mapping or changes the game for mapping, as well as scenario generation for autonomous driving, we just published a blog. I don't know if you can post this information for the after the podcast, but I can share that with you, Daniel. And yeah, I think these are the two best sources for people to really learn or be able to order the product. And of course, our Twitter is the main source of all kinds of speculation around NATIX. So make sure you're there too. I believe it's NATIX Network. It's quite straightforward. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, well, thanks so much, you guys, for joining the podcast today. I think it's been very, very interesting. Love talking to you, understanding the vision and all the progress. It's like the second episode that we have with NATIX, and it's actually a massive upgrade from the first one, right? So that's very, very cool. For everyone that's listening, make sure to check on deepinhub.io, subscribe to the newsletter. There's a lot of things that we're going to put there about NATIX as well. And just follow the progress, follow everything that's happening on the whole DePIN ecosystem as a whole. And yes, see you guys in the next episodes. And so, thank you so much for joining. And let's keep on building because there's a lot of work to be done.
Thank you, everyone.